Hey, what's up? I'm Angie. We're going to do a reading today, and it's going to be really fun because the intention of the reading is for you to hear from Spirit what you are sick of hearing, to the point where you're going to hear it and go, oh my God, I'm so sick of hearing that, which is going to prove to you that it's actually a thing that's important, okay? I don't know if that makes sense based on what I just said, but you'll get it when it comes to the time when I'm doing your pile, okay? So here's pile 1, here's pile 2, and here's pile 3. And if you're 1, 2, 3, more than one of them, or even none of them, then those are all valid options. So just focus on the cards. Which one are you feeling visually drawn to, energetically pulled to? Which one feels like it's speaking to you to some capacity? Okay. All right. So I'm going to start with pile 1. And in doing so, if you pick 2 or 3, go ahead and skip to those. The timestamps are below. Otherwise, stick around for pile 1, which is patience. So have you been told, is this a theme for you to have patience? Is it really annoying? I'm sure it is if you haven't been told to have patience, then this is not the pile for you, basically. Patience regarding your situation. So that's the theme card. Are we gonna actually dwell on the topic of patience all day? Not really. I will say there's the element of divine timing, which is not a timing thing, but an alignment thing. Does that make sense? Divine timing doesn't mean on February 19th of the year 2025, this will happen. What it means is when this thing and this thing match each other vibrationally, energetically, whatever you want to call it, that's the timing part. When the time is right is when all the things match up and are in alignment. Think of it like a puzzle, and the quicker you do the puzzle, the quicker you're done with the puzzle. But while you're still working on it, you're still working on it. It's kind of redundant, but also obvious. Sometimes the most complex things are also the most simple. Okay, the corn. This is another patience and timing thing, because you plant, there's the stages of this. You plant the corn, it does its thing, then it sprouts up, then you harvest it, then you till it, and you start all over again. So, patience. You can't plant the corn and then expect to walk out there tomorrow and harvest the corn. It takes some time. So, if that wasn't the most appropriate card to get for your pile, I don't know what would be. Okay, next is the Heart of Sky. So now we're shifting gears a little bit, like I was assuming we would. And also fire came out. I wasn't sure if I was going to use it or not, but once Heart of Sky came out, I felt like fire was going to be contributing also. Oracle cards, tarot cards, all that, they can be kind of sticky sometimes, so it's hard to know sometimes if a card is really wanting to get your attention or if it's just acting weird because of texture and things like that. The Rainbow. Okay, and I'll pick one more. The Smoky Mirror. Okay, so for group 1, patience, people. Seeing what else we get here, because these messages are going to be probably talking about something else. Okay, your group has some kind of message of understanding of things, of spiritual topics that probably differ from what is the mainstream kind of beliefs on things. So, for example, let's say the topic of patience and divine timing. You might have a different understanding of it than I do, you know, or like a different opinion of how it works than I do. My question to you would be, what is the harm in entertaining something that you have not previously entertained? Why don't you just try it on for size and see if it fits for a little while? That's kind of where I'm going with that. Okay, so that's message one. And it might not be about the whole divine timing thing. I'm just using that as an example. But, and it might have nothing to do with me. It's that you might have beliefs about something differing than what other people believe. Why don't you maybe consider just entertaining, you know, play devil's advocate on what is external to what your thinking is. There's a few reasons why it could be beneficial for you to do so. Some of them that are coming to my mind is, if you don't even believe it yourself, but you entertain the idea of it, you might see where the other person or people are coming from. So if you put yourself in their shoes to see why do they have the opinion that they do, like what happened to them, you know, what did they experience to make them have that opinion? If you had been them, would you be of that opinion, or would you have the opinion that you currently have? Smoky mirror to me is, there's some kind of illusion. It could be, you know, a veil of understanding that is between you and another, or you and an understanding of something. You are being affected by something not being the truth of what you think it is. I don't know what it is exactly, but it is something to do with spirituality, spiritual beliefs, spiritual understanding of things. You right now have a good grip on something, maybe 90% of it, but there's this 10% of it that needs to be tweaked, needs to be thought of a little differently and outside of the box. Again, I don't know what it is in relation to. Here's what I would suggest to you is, look at your life right now, take a snapshot of it, and look at it from an outsider perspective of what could be improved, what is lacking. And if you take honest inventory of what that may be, whether it be, say, finances or your love life situation or whatever have you, you take that thing and you say, what is it that I need to do to fix this? Is it something I need to do situationally in my life? Say, for example, if it's money, do I need to do this or this or this in order to fix that gap? Or let's say it's love, and you've tried everything you can think of to manifest a partner that is perfect for you, but you keep attracting duds, or there's nobody coming in, or everybody that you attract to you, it might be good for a time and then it turns bad, or they end up ghosting you, or, you know, you have to look at the trends. You have to look, don't just take your life at face value, like, oh, I guess I'm just this or that. I guess this or that, I'm just destined to be alone, or, you know, that kind of thing. It might be more than that. And you're not seeing that final 10% of the illusion of what it is that's actually keeping you from having your 100%. So you need to take on honest inventory. You need to shed some light. And here's where I'm getting that from, is with the rainbow. Like, let's say, I'm trying to give you the visual of the Pink Floyd thing with the prism, and the light goes in it, and then out the other side of the prism comes the rainbow. It's like, once you shed some light on this 10% of your situation thing, you're going to be able to see the exact facets of what is affecting. So you're going to have the whole spectrum of how everything plays into it. Okay. Because I do feel like your life at this very, very second is not as concrete as you may think it is. There are things that can be tweaked by you, be it a state of mind or a way of doing things or something that you can do. That's where fire is feeling relevant. There's something you can do. You can start a fire. It's like an alchemy thing. You're not powerless in this situation. Patience, though, is again coming up, or like I'm being triggered to say it in this context, that it's not going to be a quick fix. You're not going to get rich quick. You're not going to have the ideal partner tomorrow, because we're bringing back in the concept of divine timing. And with that concept, we're talking about, who knows, maybe that other person isn't in the place that they need to be in order to be in a relationship with you. Or maybe that job isn't available or ready yet. Or maybe you don't live in the location that you would need to be to have the ideal job that you're wanting to attract to yourself. Or, like you're wanting to move, but world circumstances are keeping you from being able to. It seems like a domino effect of things where you know what it is you're wanting, but you can look backwards from that point and see what all the steps would need to be to take it, and you're just in a stuck position where you're like, well, I can't do this until that happens, and I can't do that until that happens, and blah, 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 blah. So you're like, I'm stuck. Not necessarily. That's where that 10% comes, because you're looking at the future through a smoky, it says smoky mirror, but I'm saying smoky window. Or you're driving down the road and your windshield has bugs all over it, and you're just like, la-di-da-di-da, but then you realize, you know what, maybe I should clean my wipers, maybe I should, and then you're like, oh wow, that looks great, now I can see so much better. That's the thing that I'm getting for you guys, is how you need to think about what you can do in the now, that there's just at least one thing that you can do right now that you haven't thought of yet. And maybe it's just as simple as thinking about it a little bit so it can come to you. Okay. Have I showed you guys these cards? Fire. The Heart of Sky. The Smoky Mirror. The Corn. And the Rainbow. Okay, the Heart of Sky. Cosmic knowledge. Okay, so do you know how limited our minds are here on Earth during this life right now? Like me sitting here right now, I am like at such a diminished capacity of what I actually know internally, but that smoky mirror kind of keeps me from being able to totally 100% tap in and gauge into what I know, even beyond, even that little 10% more than I know right at this very second. And one of the ways that this is very tangibly proven to you that you don't know what you even have potential of knowing is when you're in a dream state. I'll give you an example of my dream last night, that I'm having a series of dreams that are like continuations on, and they're building on each other. It might not be every single night, but it's like, let's say 2 weeks ago I had a dream, and then last week I had a dream, and then last night I had a dream. And that those 3 dreams are all related with an underlying theme. And the theme is, and it's been this way for many, many years, before I even was really, really analytical about my dreams, that I would be in this, let me just say it like this, I got lucid last night. Now, when you're in a dream, before you get lucid, you're looking through the smoky mirror. When you realize you're dreaming, boom, that 10% is gone immediately. So you're lucid now, and you're like, I know I'm dreaming. Do you know what my secondary thought is every time I realize that I've been dreaming and now I'm in a dream? Is I go, well, if this is a dream, then maybe my real life is a dream too. But here's the thing. It's not even a maybe, it is. But unless you remember, see, when I got lucid last night in my dream, I remembered who I am when I'm awake. There's a difference, because sometimes you get lucid and you cannot remember who you are when you're awake. So let's say right this very, very, very second, right now I go, okay, I know this is a dream. It's a collective dream that we're all sharing. But I know this is a dream, so who am I in my quote-unquote waking state? And I always choose to not go into that on videos, because it's like, that's like a conversation that I would have with somebody in person, or, you know, hanging out with people who are like-minded and we're all just kind of talking about it and sharing ideas. It's not something that I'm like putting out there to the world that this is what I believe and you should too, because I feel like a lot of power comes from getting your own answers, and I don't like to have people believe what I believe just because I've come up with it. I'm like, you figure it out yourself too. So anyways, point of my story is I knew who I was in my waking state as like where I'm sitting right now and blah blah blah, all my facts. My facts. Right now though, my problem with this being a dream state mentality is I don't remember who I am or the factors of my existence on a level above this one. So like, I don't even know what gender I am. I don't know what my color my hair is. I don't know what I look like, what I talk like. I don't know what my surroundings are. I don't know what I do every day. You kind of get what I'm saying? Like, if that 10% were cleared and I had that, that's what I feel enlightenment is the enlightened one is the awakened one. And you're awake within the dream, and this is a dream, so you get your awareness and your awakeness, and you remember who you are when you're not in the dream state. You're lucid. Well, until that happens, I'm technically not enlightened, I guess. And I've gotten hints on those factors, but nothing so concrete that it's like without any doubt and without any hesitation kind of thing, for the most part. So, but the heart of the sky message is literally like that 10% that is you, me, and everybody, where to me it feels like we're being kept from knowing, because if we knew, that would change things. When we're born here, we are born as a baby whose human brain is the limitation to a remembrance, because that baby's brain has to form and learn things, and the amount of time that comes with how long it takes to learn just how to be a human in human society and all that sort of thing. The amount of time that takes, you forget everything that was before. And then you're working to remember it and apply it to this life. But what if you're being held back from remembering because it won't be helpful for you to remember? So in my lucid dream last night, I was talking to some people, knowing full and well that I'm lucid. And I was like, hey, so this, where we're at right now, this part of my dream, what's the deal here? Like, this place is pretty chaotic. And they're like, yeah, this is a parallel of Earth that's on a lower level than Earth. Like, if you look around, everybody is pretty, what was the, like, he pointed somebody out to me that was carrying like a bazooka, and they were going outside and they were going to literally like shoot a car so it would blow up. Just a random ass car. Didn't care if like kids were around or anything. It felt like mayhem and mischief. It wasn't vindictive, it wasn't evil. It was just like everyday life. And they were like, they basically gave me the perspective of, you think Earth is bad, but there's other planes of existence that are in some ways a little bit less evolved than Earth. like the people here on this plane of existence are kind of like in a different kind of mentality where the idea of having a peaceful planet doesn't even cross their mind. Whereas at least on Earth, you guys have the mentality of having a peaceful planet, or at least some of you do. Enough of you do to where it's a consistent theme that you hear on Earth is the word peace. They're like, here at this place, the word peace doesn't even exist, basically. Like, it's not something we're working toward at this time. Right now, the way things are just how they are. Now let's see. See, that's going a little bit too much into the woo-woo as far as understanding the different planes of existence and all that. I'm like, I'm not even going into that right now. It's too much, and it's not gonna be helpful for the conversation of what I'm trying to talk about is that 10% part, because obviously in my dream we talked about other things too, and about my personal life, and one of the things I brought up was about, I guess, the fact that I can't remember who I am on the next level up. And they were like, yeah, but you know, you just, until you would have that, like, assuming you ever even have that ever, until you would have that, you just have to keep knowing what you know and doing what you're doing and just keep going with it. And don't think like because you don't have all the answers, that means that you're not able to talk about what you do know and what you have experienced. So who's to say if you were given that information, the reason why you're not given the information is because you're not supposed to talk about it. And then you know, my counter to that is, okay, well then just tell me not to talk about it. You know, just be like, look, here's so you know. But the thing is would it do me any benefit to know, or would it distract me, or would it make me like there was this movie that I saw kind of recently-ish where they proved that there was an afterlife, and because they proved that there was an afterlife, people started committing suicide, and they had a counter of how many people committed suicide since the proof of the afterlife was given. It blew my mind that, because I know there's an afterlife, that doesn't mean I'm going to go jump off a bridge because of it. And I was like, just because there's a proof that there's an afterlife, why would you, like, you don't know if the afterlife is even worse than this life. There's no guarantee on that in the movie. So I was like, oh my God, who would just do that because you know there's an afterlife now? I forget what it's called. I forget what the movie's called, but I'm sure you can look it up. But that's kind of my point is, would it do any harm? Like if there's an error, not error, but an error of it potentially doing harm, you know, they will be on the side of caution as far as not sharing that information, not exposing that information to the world, and having the veil of that 10% still remain in effect, because they're afraid it would do more harm than good. It's like this planet is very fragile, the balance of mentality of the people. And when you're evolving consciousness, you have to be very cautious of what are the repercussions. God, I cannot think today of the right way of saying words. Repercussions of potentially evolving too fast, because you don't want to skip steps. This is, I keep being reminded of the theme of patience, you know, from a higher perspective, those who are in charge with helping us evolve, which is technically ourselves, because you're getting the information from within, but that's the whole outer paradox, you know, and the different dimensional states of being and all that. But you know, you have this knowing that's embedded in you, but you have the veil of not being able to tap into it fully. And if you were to have that barrier just come down and immediately know all this stuff, if it would cause you to potentially not, oh yeah, actually this is the other thing it could do. Sometimes when you know something before you actually fully understand it, it doesn't, you don't learn it. Like if I tell you something instead of you figuring it out for yourself, it might not hold for you. It might not affect you in the way that it should. If anything, it's like maybe planting a seed for the future, but it's not going to go anywhere unless you catch up to the understanding of it from your own processing and experiences and all that kind of consciousness evolution and the steps that you take to get you there on your own way. Because there is no one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter way to evolve. Like, I can't put in a book how to evolve your consciousness and every single person on earth read it and it work for them. Some people will take the book and go, oh, this is bullshit, and throw it over their shoulder. Other people will read it but not understand it. Other people will kind of get it but kind of not. Other people will have bias and not even, like, they'll be angry at it because it conflicts with their personal beliefs. I would challenge you to take anything that somebody else has given you for understanding and wisdom and knowledge. I would challenge you to take it as a grain of salt and think about what it is that you know from your own experiences and go forward with that and be like, this is what I know, this is what I'm not sure of. I'm going to take everything I'm not sure of and put it on the shelf, and I'm going to take everything I know and hold that and say, well, if I know this to be true, then what does that mean other than this? The thing is it's not going to be quick. It's going to take time to evolve the consciousness of everybody. So you just got to keep doing what you're doing. It could be annoying because you're thinking, okay, well, it would be really nice if this would just hurry up already. But for reasons beyond our control, we can't speed this up. It is what it is. Okay? If you have any questions on your own understanding of things and you would like some outside clarification that maybe somebody like myself could, you tell me where you're at with things, and then I can tell you kind of like what happened in my dream last night, honestly. Like, I knew I was dreaming, so I was like talking to people about it in the dream. People who they knew that I knew that I was dreaming. It's really cool, honestly, to be able to get lucid and then to do something with it. It's not just about like flying around. That's like, step one. People are like, I want to be able to get lucid so I can fly, because that'd be so fun to fly. And I'm like, yeah, but it gets boring. My version of flying is knowledge. Like, I want to know things. I want to understand things. And it's not because I just want to know and understand things. It's because I want to remember what I used to know. I feel limited. I feel that smoky mirror, and it annoys me. And I'm like, I'm so sick of this veil of forgetfulness. I'm so sick of not remembering what I used to know. It's frustrating that the amnesia that you have on Earth is freaking annoying. I hate it. So there's that. And if you feel like me, then we're on the same path of frustration and patience being, I'm sure pile one is me. I'm always getting the message of patience. It's so annoying. I hate it. Okay, so you probably do too. Hence why this video is about hearing the theme of the things that annoy you, kind of thing. All right, so if you picked pile 2 also, then stick around and we'll move on to that. Okay, if you picked pile 2, your card is Ask Body. I don't really know what we're going to get for that yet. but we shall see. I keep looking around because I thought I put pile 1 cards from this deck to the side and I didn't, and now I'm like, I guess we're going to be pulling the same cards out. Okay. The Ghost Dance, Wild Woman, Completion, the Drum. We'll start with that, and if I feel like pulling more, then I will. So here we have the Ghost Dance, Wild Woman, Completion, and the Drum. I have bad news for you. The completion doesn't feel like it's over. It feels like it's a step, like, or you know what I mean? Like you've completed a portion and there will be more to go. It's not like you're like, oh, cool, completion, I'm done. The end. But it's like the Death card in tarot where something is ending so that something new is beginning. Or it could be seen as the World card, where completion of a cycle, but then the World card being the 22nd card, you start again as the Fool. Whichever one you want to relate to your life and your circumstance, either one of those apply. Okay, Ghost Dance, Wild Woman, the Drum. Wild Woman and the Drum kind of work together, right? Because whether you're a woman or a man doesn't matter, but you get what I'm saying. Like where you know, it's like somebody who goes out to drum circles, who goes out to festivals, to just literally goes out, follows their heart, does whatever they, you know, they feel called to. And with Ask Body, they're following their own inner lead. They're not doing what society tells them to do. They're not conformists. They're not somebody who is going to be working in a cubicle 9 to 5 ever, ever, ever. That idea just scares the shit out of them. They're probably not going to settle down in a relationship, or at least not like in the traditional sense where they're going to get a mortgage and they're going to have a couple kids and a dog and a white picket fence and, you know, like two cars and, you know, like that whole suburbia kind of thing. That's just not them. So I'm kind of painting a picture of the person that I'm seeing, and I wonder if you're this person or not, or I wonder if you want to be. Like, you're like, well, that would be nice, but I do have this and this and this and this that you just said, and I work in a cubicle from 9 to 5 and I hate my life. So if that's the case, you might want to reassess, because what might have happened to you is you were a wild woman, man, whatever, and you conformed because the pressure that was on you, and you didn't ask your inner knowing of what it was. You forewent that, and instead you did what other people told you to do. So which one are you? Did you live true to your calling, or did you conform? Okay, so doesn't matter. Let's say you conformed. We're done with that. You're gonna go become your wild inner woman. Now, Ask Body. I feel like your group are healers. Let me give you an example of what I feel like you have the potential to do if you don't do it already. When I do Thai body work on people, I can sense where, like, okay, so hard to explain something energetic. Let's say I'm working on somebody's arm and I put my hand on their arm, my thumb will find the line of energy that is needing to be affected. Energy needs to move, you know, like the chi needs to move. There's a stagnant, there's a block, there's something. Now, like normal massage usually has a sequence to it where the massage therapist will start. You know what to expect. It's predictable. every time you come in, it's the same. You start face down. They start by doing this and this and this. You know when they get to a certain point, that means you're done on that side and you're about to flip over onto your back. And then they do that routine part of it. And then you know when they get to a certain point that they're done. They are complete. You are done. But then, when I do mine, you never know what to expect. Because I don't know. This is the way I teach my classes too. And the way I do these readings, I do not plan anything, because anytime I plan something, it's almost like the universe has jokes. It never ever goes according to plan. That's why I don't pre-plan conversations. That's why, like, if somebody says you need to make a plan about this, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. They're like, I need to know what time you're going to be there, how long you're going to stay, what do you want to eat, what kind of decorations do you want, who do you want to come? I'm like, oh my God, I don't freaking know. You're freaking me out. Because this is what I want. I want you to figure it all out, and I will show up. When I show up, I'll stay for as long as I feel like it. You know, I'm asking my body. My body's telling me, this is too much. You need to go. You're overwhelmed. Otherwise, I'll be drained. Conversations with people. Oh, yeah, small talk, small talk. And I'm just like, I'm way too much of an introvert for this. I can't do this. I'm freaking out. I'm having anxiety. I don't know. So, you know, this is the extreme. Normally, I can suck it up and get through it, but the point of my story is, I guess you'd say I'm a wild woman, okay? And I march to the beat of my own drum, and I'm always asking what it is that needs to be done in any given moment, as opposed to what I should do based on a sequence of things or a predetermined plan. And because I live my life this way, I wonder if it is just a part of my personality default, or if it's as something to do with my childhood. I don't know, but who cares? It's like chicken or the egg with that one. Here's the thing, is when I talk about myself, I do so that you can compare. Where are you in comparison to everything I just said? If you need to be more like that, then you can kind of gauge what a version of that would be. If you are fine the way you are, like say you're opposite and you're like, I like to plan things, I like to do this, I like to do that. If you picked pile 1 and 2, you are somebody who needs to get out of your rut. You may have lost touch with your inner wild person. You might have conformed, like I said at the beginning, but for you, it's like if you pick 1 and 2, it's highly likely that you need to maybe not even return to your roots of being a wild person, but you need to actually find your wild person within yourself. Sometimes you just need inspiration from an external source of somebody else who's like that, who inspires you to say, you know, maybe I can be like that too. You know, sometimes you just need to hang out with somebody who makes you see things a little differently, so that it brings out in you that part of you that you didn't know existed. That 10%, if you picked 1, also, you know what I'm talking about, that 10% of you that was veiled. It'll expose it, and you'll be like, oh, I didn't even realize like I had that within me. I just thought I was normal, and you know, this and this. It's like you needed a trigger to expose that to you from external to you, because it wasn't awakening within. Another thing I'm getting for you guys with the serpent is Kundalini. So you might have some kind of Kundalini awakening that you should and could trigger of your own. Maybe by doing Kundalini yoga, which is a lot of breath work. It's a particular type of breath work, and particular type of yogic asanas, poses. Because you might be stagnant right now, you might need to do something on an energetic level. We're not talking about situational. We're not talking about other people. We're not talking about something you can trigger within yourself by just wanting to. We're talking about put yourself in a circumstance to where it will trigger this for you by you doing something such as, I'm really feeling like a yoga class, like a Kundalini yoga class, in particular. I feel like sometimes I have a prescription pad of what I write on it, and like one of my clients, I write for him, I'm like, you need to go get reflexology, and I told him about it so many times and he never did it. So I literally wrote down on a piece of paper one day, I was like, prescription reflexology quantity 1. You know, I wrote it like it was a prescription, and I said, here, now maybe you'll do it. But that's just an aside, because I do the same thing with yoga classes and stuff. Like, you need yin yoga, or you need yoga nidra, or, you know, whatever. Having said that, the drum part, there is nothing, if you're watching this right now, there is nothing going on as far as like festivals and stuff, for good reason. But in the future, let's assume there is no pandemic going on and there are festivals again. I think if you've never been to one, that's something you should have on your bucket list. Like, for one, before I get too old, I need to go to a festival. Not even, I'm not talking about like a music festival, I'm talking about something like Burning Man. Me, I have never been to a festival, and I feel like I'm too old. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm too old to go to a festival. Now, if I had a good group of people to go with, that'd be different. But me personally, either going with a bunch of 20-year-olds or going like with people I don't know very well, I don't feel like it. I feel like I would need to have a good group of like 5 people maybe-ish who are around my age-ish, where we're like not looking to get into trouble. We're just looking for the experience of it and the vibe of it and all that sort of thing. That's where I would need to be with it. Because right now I'm like, I'm old, I have kids, I don't do stuff like that anymore, I'm not young. You know, I have no wild woman left in me, but I do, it's in me, and it exudes from me, but I don't like live that way, I guess. I can pretend to be normal, is I guess where I would go with that. Keyword being pretend. So let's talk about you again as in terms of healing, because I feel like I cut that one off before really going into it. I said you guys would probably be people who are healers, but there's lots of different ways that can be. You know, healing isn't just hands-on like I used as an example. It could be literally, for you guys, I'm getting mediumship as well. Mediumship, because of the ghost dance card, and being the literal medium between the living and the dead. And it's different. It's a different frequency than communicating what spirit has to say, because when you communicate with people's passed over loved ones, you're doing so for a healing purpose. So that's why I brought that one up specifically, as opposed to being like some people are like angel communicators, and some people are like spirit guide communicators, and you know, you guys would be dead people communicators. Like me personally, I know how to do a lot of different things, but I don't do any one particular thing. That kind of goes back to what I was saying before, where if somebody were to say you need to pick one thing and you need to stick with it, stop doing all these side things, I would be like, I cannot just choose one thing. I get bored. I need to change it up. And I don't choose what I change it up to. It just happens to come in, and it makes sense at the time. You know, somebody comes in and they say, are you able to connect with my dad who died last year? And I'll be like, well, let's see. And so I roll with it, and every time it looks different. There is no cookie cutter way where their dad who passed over last year will come in. Like, every single time is different, because that person who crossed over is different. Here's an example. One person I did a reading for, their mom and their dad passed separately, and also their brother passed, meaning the person I was reading for's brother, not their parents' brother. It was their son, the person I was reading for, sibling. Now, when they presented themselves to me, I felt the energy of the dad and the son, and then the mom separately. The mom and the dad didn't come forward together. They didn't come forward all three, and the son was not with the mom. The son was with the dad. And when I explained how they were coming across, where dad and son were together and mom was over there, she goes, okay, I know for sure you have the right energies, because that makes complete and total sense. And then she explained why, and I was, and then I'm like, wow, you have no idea how weird it is when you do this kind of work, how you're always appreciating validation that you are correct, because there's no proof that you're correct until somebody tells you you're correct. And it's just a feeling, you go with it, and then you get the feedback that validates it, and then you go, okay, I guess I'm on the right track and I should keep doing what I'm doing, because clearly it is beneficial and helpful. If you don't get good feedback and you're not right, then either you need more practice or need to change something, or maybe you're supposed to literally be doing something different. If you're not doing something where you're helping people, right now, you watching, I've given you a lot of different things that you can use as inspiration for, maybe I should try this or maybe I should try that. And I really feel like you should. Because if you're not doing something where you're helping people spiritually or physically, in a spiritual way, you know, physically, energetically, then you probably aren't feeling fulfilled. You're probably not fulfilling your inner soul, what you came here to do, kind of thing. However, I'm not going to say just whatever you're doing isn't valid. I'm just saying add something to it. You might need to get some oracle cards and start working on your intuition on your own, practicing with friends and family just to kind of get your feet wet with it and all that sort of thing. If you're somebody who your family wouldn't accept it, which I get an indication with the wild woman card being here, it's like you are a step above or a step beyond what would be considered to be normal. And so you're like a rebel and a nonconformist at heart. So you need to do something in your own way of being able to break the mold or get out of the self-judgment or the vibe of listening to the judgment of others and not letting it affect you. Okay? Being drawn back to energy stuff, you know, the energy body. So, I mean, the Ask Body card is really feeling to me asking energy body as opposed to physical body, and incorporating the two and how they relate to each other. You might be drawn to look that up. Like, let's say you have suppressed anger. It manifests as a physical problem. Look that up. Let's say you have a specific, like your right knee is always hurting you. Do some digging as to why that could be happening on an energetic level. There could be a lot of different reasons. I can read into stuff like that, but maybe you can too. Maybe that's your thing, where you do energy body readings, or you do correlation of how physical manifestation, pain correlates to energetic attributes. So, what else? Drum, I'm getting vibrational healing, so maybe sound healing. With your group, why am I being given so many different examples of ways that you can offer healing? Because maybe you just need some ideas of where to start. Maybe you need the healing. The healing will help you, and then you'll be sold on it. Here's me. when I had back pain to the point where I couldn't even stand upright, I started going to yoga. My back pain started going away. I was sold on yoga for my own personal benefits, but then I got the spiritual benefits to it. And so then I was not just sold, but I was like standing on a mountaintop yelling about how amazing yoga is. Then I was like, well, I need to be teaching yoga. So I did. I started teaching it unofficially. And then I was like, well, this is me here. I went, nobody's going to be okay with me just teaching from what I've learned so far. I need to actually legitimately go through yoga teacher training so that I have a little piece of paper that tells people that I am allowed to do what I do and I know what I'm doing. So I did that, and then I started teaching under the criteria of my training, which was Hatha yoga. Although I knew a whole bunch of other styles and stuff, but I stuck with Hatha because I chose Hatha for a reason based on the philosophy behind that particular style. And then going forward after teaching, then when I started Tai Chi for myself, I got sold on that. And oh, it pissed me off when people at Tai Chi would be like, oh, yoga this, yoga that. I'm like, no. We don't talk shit about yoga here at Tai Chi, no. You know, they work together. They're great. I would never say yoga is superior to Tai Chi or Tai Chi is superior to yoga. They're so complementary, it's not even funny. But here's the thing about Tai Chi is it's not like yoga class or yoga teacher training where you can just go take a yoga teacher training class and then start teaching yoga like everybody can do. Tai Chi is a different system of being like, you do this your whole life, and maybe, just maybe one day when you're like 80 years old, then you can teach it. It's that kind of mentality. And I was like, I've talked about this in another video that I recently put up. I was like, unlike yoga, I am not following that philosophy. It's like an unspoken philosophy. Nobody ever says that, but it's just, when you notice people teaching Tai Chi, they're usually really old Chinese guys, and I'm like, that doesn't work for me. I'm not an old Chinese guy. So I'm not gonna wait until one day when I'm 80 and I'm an old Chinese guy to start teaching Tai Chi, you know? So the wild woman in me is like, you know what, I'm going to teach what I know, and people found value from it. Well, guess what? You're supposed to do the same thing. And if you watched the other video where I said that and then I'm saying it again, I say that a lot, right? You don't know that unless you see 2 videos that I say that. But here's the deal, my friends. You have something to contribute to the world is my takeaway here, my wrap up. My completion of the reading is that you have something valuable to offer the world. You need to wrap up this current stage of your life, and you need to venture onward to the second stage of your life, of where you're living your spiritual path and you're doing what it is that you have according to the training that you've done so far. Don't wait until somebody ominous dominus blesses you to tell you you can do it. You just run with it, you do it, you make it happen, you help people. That's your goal. If your goal is helping people, you will always be successful. If your goal is like money, let me tell you, it's opposite. If your goal is helping people, the money will come. If your goal is money, are you really going to be helping people? Maybe. For sure, you could. But notice how the energy is more pure when your true intention is helping people. What else? You just got to do stuff without knowing how it's gonna. You got to be detached from how it's going to, what it's gonna do, because you just never know the ripple effect of how things will end up happening. Just like when, if you do a mediumship reading or any kind of psychic reading, where you say something with no proof, but you say it because you're getting it and you're like, I don't know what this means, but I'm just going to give it. On another video very recently, I was talking about horses, and I would have never guessed that the girl who watched it commented about how it being about how horses meant something specific to her. What is that her Chinese sign is the horse. And I didn't make that connection during the reading, but for each individual person, it can be a sign of something that's significant to them. Here's another example of how this works, okay? So the number on the cards, 22, 62, 9, 15. Those numbers could be significant to you in some way. For example, 9 to me is significant because I personally am a life path 9. My birth date, month, day, year adds up to a 9. I am a 9 person. 9 people absorb or reflect whoever they're around. So let's say you're a 1 and I'm a 9. I will kind of conform to be a 1 when I'm around you. It's weird. When I'm around a 7, I adopt to be a 7. I do it in conversation too. It's weird. I don't know. It's a weird thing. So let's say, I also notice that 9 is completion, the completion of a cycle, because 9 is the last number before you go back to 1 again. Unless you're a master number 11 or 22. And here's 22. So if your birth date adds up to 22, and you're a 4 birthday, then you're a master number 22, and you're also a 4. So at your when you're either a 2 or an 11 or a 4 and a 22, you are both aspects. Your 2 and 4 is your regular everyday life self, and your 11 or your 22 is your heightened being. I'm on the right track, I'm enlightened kind of being. But even every number has the element of the human person and your shadow and your light attributes, and then your enlightened version of yourself person. Interesting stuff to look into. I don't know why I went on that tangent. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I just go with it and I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to talk about it. Okay. All right. Well, if you picked 3, we're going to move on to 3. If you didn't, then goodbye. Have a nice day. Okay. Okay. If you picked 3, you got Dare to Dream. Okay. Let's see what cards we get for you to supplement your reading. Pile 3. Whoa. The Holy Mountain. What mountain is holy? Have you ever taken a trip to Mount Shasta, and or do you want to? Is that on your bucket list? It's on mine. Okay, the Medicine Wheel. Here's the interesting thing about having kids when you're young. Here's the thing. So I had my first child when I was 22. And therefore, I never was able to travel in my 20s. And so, but here's what I said about it. I was like, you know what? I would rather wait till my kids are older and travel with them than travel in my 20s and then settle down and have kids. That's kind of my mentality with it. And so, what's the fun of going and seeing Mount Shasta by myself? It's the idea of like being a monk and meditating on a mountain. The idea of that seems so archaic. However, the fastest path to enlightenment is living in this modern world. That's what they say. I'll tell you when I get there. But it's true, because if you can meditate in a construction zone, than not with the sound of nature and streams bubbling and birds chirping, then you know that you can meditate. And that's the point. Oh my God, I can only meditate when the circumstances is lined up perfectly. Well, then you got to bump it up a level, and you have to try to increase your skills, I guess. It's like you're graduating to the next level of meditation. Okay, you also got the medicine wheel, the curse, which I feel is very relevant right now, and the circle. Medicine wheel and the circle are that round energy, which if you pick 2, pile 2 and 3, you had completion also. So I'll probably tie that together here in the future if something comes to me. Okay, I'm gonna pick another card. I don't know why, I just feel like I'm supposed to, so I'm gonna go with it. 2 came out. Ooh, this is a big card. The Crow. Have you ever seen that movie? I used to watch it in high school all the time because I had a friend who was obsessed with it. So I would go over her house and we'd watch the movie together over and over and over again every time I went over there. But it was cool. Well, that's not the card, by the way, that I said is a big card. But it's so funny when you just all of a sudden randomly remember a memory from the past, like from high school, which for me was, this memory is 22 years ago. So what is it? You think about how you have memories stored that you just don't even legitimately, you do not remember them until something like The Crow. I'm like, have you ever seen the movie The Crow? And then here I go, boom, remembering the summer between my sophomore and junior year of high school. Well, there's something with this, and what this something is you have experienced things in your infancy and your childhood that you may not remember, but they did affect you. Let's take this a step further. You have experienced things in other lifetimes as well, if you believe in that sort of thing, where if you're watching my channel, I know you do. So, you know, let's say you experienced a traumatic lifetime. If you're if you're 1 and 3 or 2 and 3, I feel like this is a combined message for you that's stronger than just for 3, is that if you have a hardship or a difficulty, 1 and 3 particularly, with you feel like you can never attain that certain goal that you wish you could, but you might have written it off, it could be because of something past life related for you guys. That's where I feel like the curse is coming in. Don't take it to mean like a literal curse. It's more like somebody's interpretation of why you have a blockage could be what they call a curse. But for you, or at least in my lingo of how I would word it, I would say you have a blockage that could highly likely be past life related, that you need to, sometimes just visiting the past life and reading on it will give you the perspective of understanding how it developed in that life, and also understanding that it's still affecting you in this life, and therefore you need to address it consciously, and maybe that's enough, or maybe something more needs to be done. In your case, maybe something more needs to be done if you picked 1 and 3. So if you picked, you know, just 3, in your case, I feel like it's from this life. You have things that happen to you in infancy or in childhood that are affecting you right now, and you need to break the cycle of it with the circle. I feel like that's like it's saying you need to take an honest inventory of what has happened to you in this lifetime, and anything that has been traumatic or toxic or negative or whatever have you, you need to address that within yourself so that it no longer is affecting you to that degree. Okay. Okay, the card that I said, ooh, that's a big card, is the Council. Okay. Anytime the Council is brought up in any context, I kind of get goosebumps, because when the council comes in messages, this means this is like, I stop my tracks and I go, okay, what do you got to say? I want to know. I'm here. I'm ready. You're about to get leveled up. You're about to get bumped up. You're group 3. I don't want to give you any, I don't want to bias you if you watch other videos of mine, but group 3 tends to be the group that has the level of messages that are of a higher caliber, of a more like, you already have a basic understanding of things to the point where you need the next level of information. A lot of people who, when I do my pile 3 messages, I feel like a lot of the people are psychics or in this line of work. Not always, so don't be like, oh, I'm always going to watch pile 3s then, because universe has jokes, and then they'll switch it up on you, and you'll watch 3 and they'll be like giving you messages that clearly don't apply to you to the point to prove a lesson to you. They love doing that. Anyways, the council is like that, okay? The council, when they give messages, it is always for your highest good, and it's not always the truth. For example, you might go to a psychic to get a reading on a situation, and you're already a reader, or you're already intuitive enough, and then the psychic will tell you something that's clearly wrong, and you go, well, that was a waste of money. And that's because you're not supposed to know the answer, or you're not supposed to be going to somebody else for the answer, or you know what I'm saying, like these kind of reasons. And it's frustrating and it's annoying because all you want is somebody else to tell you the same thing you already know, but you just want to hear it from somebody else, and that'll prove it to you, but you're not going to get your proof, and it's frustrating. So I do keep getting the indication though that, well, I feel like okay, remember how I said you got to work on this whole past thing? Let's say you have been and you've hit a roadblock, or let's say you start doing so and you hit a roadblock, like you get to a plateau. Well, that's when the council is going to come in, and they're going to get you to the next step, maybe through me, or maybe through your own meditation. I do, even though I said earlier, think that you should be practicing doing your spiritual work no matter what your external circumstances are, and not make excuses for, well, I can't because my circumstances are this and that. You need to push through and do it anyway. Although I feel like that, I do feel like you need to take a siesta. Is that the right word? You know what I mean? Or what's it called? A sabbatical is what I meant to say. You need to go take a sabbatical and get in touch with, let's just say for ease of conversation, the council. You need to get in touch with whatever term you want to define to be one step above. If you watched 1, you know what I'm talking about because I went on a tangent about it. But if you're just drawn to 3 only, you don't need to go rewatch 1 because you already have an understanding of everything I said in 1, to the point where it would be like just reiterating to you what you already know. But if you want to, because I personally like hearing other people's perspective on things I already have a grasp on, because maybe they will say something that I didn't already think of it that way, or they worded it in a way that I like adopting, or whatever, different reasons. But if you did pick 1 for sure, and you're now watching 3, guess what? That 10% thing is what we're talking about right here with the council. The 10% information that's being withheld from you is a divine reason. And that whole patience thing that you got for your card as your main theme, the council is what is keeping you back from that information. They're the ones that are keeping me back from the information that I wish to attain for reasons that are beyond my understanding. So we just have to trust that it's all part of the plan, and it's for the best and all that sort of thing, because it'll drive you crazy otherwise. When you have to have patience, you have to be like okay with the patience. It's not like gritting your teeth patience, like, I'm being patient, damn it. It's more like, I'm being patient. Everything's cool. I got this. It's all great. In fact, I'm going to take my patience and go to the holy mountain. So there's this mountain in Sedona. And because I'm not used to the elevation, when I climbed this mountain in Sedona, I was like really winded and out of breath, even though at that time in my life I was very in shape. So we climbed the mountain and we're sitting on the mountain, just chilling, looking out over the landscape and everything, which is really pretty. It's so surreal when you're there. So just, you're not looking at a picture, you're there and you're looking around and you're just like, wow, I'm here right now. This is crazy. You wish you can just like snapshot the memory to the point where you can recall it at any time and just kind of put yourself there and be there again. You wish you can transport to there. So I can just right now be like, oh man, I want to feel that again, so it's fresh. Well, the thing about this mountain that a lot of people know and why people like going to this mountain is because it's a vortex. If you don't, I'm sure you guys who are watching Pal 3 probably know what a vortex is, or you can go look it up if you don't. But this particular vortex is a very heavy energy. You feel like you weigh more when you're on this mountain. You feel heavier. And because it's such a grounded feeling, you get a very grounded energy. And meditating on that mountain feels like a different kind of feeling to it. This is really hard to explain if you don't know what I'm talking about. So this is why travel is important, is it's not just because travel, you know, that's like what a lot of people, oh, I want to travel. What they may not consciously know is that, you know, there's ley lines and there's these vortices and all this sort of thing that you go to these different places in order to be in that energy. It's almost like it unlocks something within you. You can communicate and receive information. You can get downloads and transmissions. You can unlock certain things within you that are like, let's say you have a hallway of doors. Not a hallway of doors that are along the hallway, like an apartment building, but a hallway of doors where you open a door and then you go down the hallway more. You open another door and you go down the hallway more. Let's say at the very, very end of the hallway is enlightenment. Now, in this video, I've talked about enlightenment a lot. I don't generally talk about enlightenment because a lot of people in this modern society don't have the goal of enlightenment. If you are a monk, that is your goal, right? But none of us are watching this are probably monks. So, however, it's almost sad in a way, because if we had enlightenment, it would change everything. I think you kind of get where I'm going with this, is that should be the goal. But I'm not going to say to my kids, hey kids, just so you know, I don't care about how you do in school because the goal of your life is enlightenment. Yeah, right. That's later. But just at least knowing about it, conceptually kind of putting it out there that that's the door at the end of the hallway. When you walk through that, that's when the angelic choir sings. But until then, the first door you open and the second door you open, they build upon each other. And let's pretend that you're at a plateau and the only way to get to that next door is by actually physically going somewhere else, because you can't get that, you're not in the same vibration of whatever it is that is to open that door unless you go to this other location or whatever. Let's say you're limited and you're not able to literally travel. This can be a meditation. I will never ever say something like, oh, well, if you can't go there physically, you're SOL. You're never going to be able to, you know, transcend that. Not true. It's almost, to me, what I'm saying is it's like a fast track, where if you go there physically, you're highly likely able to be able to get there like on an accelerated pace. Okay. All right, let's see if there's any last messages. Okay, I know there is. But it's, for me to get this message, it's like I have to get myself into a different kind of frequency or whatever. How do I do that today, right now? Here we go. Pile 3 people. When I get to you guys, I'm always like, I need another deck to do this. Pile 3 always gets the extra deck. Smudging ceremony. So not just smudge, but smudging ceremony. Make it a ceremony as opposed to I'm gonna go smudge my house. You might be somebody who already smudges your house. So there. All right, here we go. Smudging ceremony. Look where they're at. They're here. You gotta take that. You gotta go get the sage from here and bring it back so that you can keep that vibration. Or let's say you can't go there. You get the native plant to bring back, or to have, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you get somebody to send it to you or whatever, so that you can have that energy with you. Make it a ceremony instead of just like a means to an end. It's like eating with purpose as opposed to just eating to not be hungry. Okay, walking in beauty. Again, look where they're at. And wounded healer. Okay, wounded healer goes back to what I was saying about you processing whatever it is that you have experienced in this life and or maybe others as well. But guess what? One thing I'm getting for you with the circle is that you're always revisiting it because there's always more to go. You might be like, oh, I thought I healed that. But then it comes back up again in a different way. And it surprises you. Don't be surprised by it. There might be more to go. The other thing about wounded healer is the way you're best able to help other people is if you have experienced it yourself. So don't think that that's the way you take a shitty experience and make the best of it, is by taking it to help others instead of just being like a victim, like, oh, that happened to me, my life sucks. It's, if you just immediately transform it to, yeah, this happened to me and it sucks, but I'm going to make the best of it and help other people who have experienced it as well and can be helped by me having experienced it, then that's how you transform it. Okay, and then walking in beauty. Oh, by the way, going back to that last one, you probably already know that, but are you actually doing it? I guess is my next point. Is I hate when I say something to somebody and they go, yeah, I know, I hear that from every reader. I'm like, okay, then why are you not doing it? Because what it is spirit is trying to get your attention, and they're like, unless you do what it is you're supposed to do, you're not going to be given the next thing. When you walk through that door and you're in that portion of the hallway, you have to do what's in the room. You have to deal with those wounded hurts that are coming up. You have to do the healing of it so that you can heal others. And if you've only done a portion of that, but you haven't done all of it, you're not yet ready to walk through the door. Or else you're not going to have integrated it fully. And you're not going to be in a place to help others with it. You know, you can do what you can from your capacity, but you're always working and revisiting and reassessing and all that sort of thing. Okay, and walking in beauty, one of the things, like if you're struggling with your weight, do you know that going on walks is really, really good for you? You probably know that, but I've had a few people in here recently that I say, it's weird, you know, they'll give you like literal messages that are for your direct life, and it has to do with your physical body, and I think people don't expect that sometimes, and I'm like, are you walking? And they go, oh, I know I should be. Same thing where it's like, I'm like, okay, then if every person is telling you that you should be, and you know you should be, start doing it. Are they going to go home and start doing it? I don't know. That's up to them. But hopefully they do, because Spirit's trying to tell them to do so. So walking in beauty sounds to me like smudging ceremony. Ceremonically, is that the right way you'd say it? Going on walks. Not just going on walks because it's good for you, but going on walks and using it as a form of meditation. Not just driving your car and thinking about your daily life stuff, but as a way of anxiety or ruminating, but thinking about it from a higher perspective and how you're going to transform things, how you're trying to manifest things, what you are trying to bring to you, what you don't want, you know, getting clear on that as well. Some people think that if you think about what you don't want, you're going to attract that to you because you're thinking about it. No, but staying in the state of what you don't want because you're dwelling on it, that will bring it to you. Dwelling brings things. Thinking about doesn't. Notice the thoughts you have every single day, the dialogue that you have internally. And if you're noticing negativity as an overall theme, then that tells you need to tweak that a little bit. That's pile 2 and 3. You might have some tweaking you need to do. Pile 2 and 3, you might have that wounded healer message meaning more for you than just pile 3 people. They might have already worked through it, whereas you still have more to go. Or opposite, actually. It's because it's a general thing. It's hard to pinpoint, but some of you in group 2 and 3 have already literally worked through your stuff enough to the point where you're now, it's like overdue for you to go help other people. If you can go on a vacation and you know you want to and you've been putting it off, do it. Especially if it's secluded. It's something that's by yourself, or you're able to go off. Like say you go with a group of people, but then you're able to go off by yourself. If you're 1 and 3, you know what I'm talking about. Like going with a group of people, but then going off on your own, and then like being able to do your own processing and your own thing, and then coming back to the group again. Let me see if there's anything else before I put these away. Just look for themes in your life that need to be addressed if you want to change them. That was a message for 1, but I'm just saying it again for 3 because you got these kind of cards. The circles are always something that's like being revisited. Okay. You are meant to help others though, for sure. You are supposed to be communicating with the council directly for the purpose of helping others, not for your own messages necessarily. It's like first you get your own, then you pass it on. If you're not already doing that and you know you should be, then there you go. If you're already doing it, then good job, keep going. But there might be new levels to it that come up in the near future. Okay. All right, that's all I'm getting for you guys today. And if you have any questions or anything, just let me know in the comments or reach out to me directly. If you want to order a reading, especially a past life reading, because that came up for you, then contact me and we can get that scheduled. All right, thanks.